Hello, hello, hello. This is Rocket, and that is my sound, I should say. I discovered something as far as feature on my iPad, so I start playing with the sound. Anywho, how are you doing? Hope everything is doing fantastic. So, my topic for today is Kewpie or Kewpie. It's just depend on how you pronounce it, but I really like the sound of Kewpie. And if you do not know what is it all about, it's actually a doll. And my story started way back 2 years ago when I went thrifting and I saw this doll. And I said, wow, such a cute doll. It has that Cupid type of a face. But way back then, I saw those dolls, but I did not know what they were. So I did not had a chance to really did some research. But over a period of time, I started thinking about it, and I said, "What is it that make this type of a doll important to me?" And I come to realize it is not because of the age. It is because of how it looks like. 'Cause it has a happy face, and I like that. I like seeing people happy. And when I see something like this, and I said, okay, I'm in. So I did some research the other night about QP. Okay, I'm gonna settle with QP. But if you caught me saying QPI, I apologize. It's just one of those things that sometimes I mispronounce words. So actually, Kewpie, no, QP was a doll or a figurine, and it is his or her inventor is Rosie O'Neill. Company J.D. Kestiner from 1912 to 1920s. That's how. That's the company who created QP. I really have to slow down when I said the word because I've been catching myself saying Kewpie. The country where it came from was United States, and the availability it was from 1912 to the present. And here we go. QP is a brand of dolls and figures that were conceived as comic strip characters by cartoonist Rosie O'Neill. Don't confuse it with Rosie O'Donnell, because that's what I thought at first. The illustrated cartoons appearing as baby Cupid characters began to gain popularity after the publication of O'Neill's comic strips in 1909, and O'Neill began to illustrate and sell paper doll version of the Qpiece. The characters were first introduced as Bisque doll in Waterhausen, Germany, beginning at 1912 and become extremely popular in the early 20th century. The QP dolls were initially made out of bisque exclusive, but composition version were introduced in the 1920s, and celluloid version were manufactured in the following decades. There you go. In 1949, F&V created the first hand plastic version of the dolls, and soap, rubber, and vinyl version were produced by Cameo Company and Jesco between the 1960s and the 1990s. The earlier bisque and composition version of QP dolls are widely sought after by antique and dolls collectors, who especially wanted those hand-signed by O'Neill. QPs should not be confused with the baby-like Billy Can figure that debuted in 1908. So that's one thing that I found out. Now, Rosie O'Neill, a Midwest native who had worked as a writer and illustrator in New York City, initially conceptualized the QP as a cartoon intended for a comic strip in 1909. According to O'Neill, the idea for the QP's come to her in a dream. The comic, featuring the cheer-of-face characters, was first printed in Ladies' Home Journal in the December 1909 issue, O'Neill described the characters as sort of little round fairy whose one idea is to teach people to be merry and kind at the same time. There you have it. That's what make me curious about Kewpies. It is just because they have a happy face and as well kind. Their name, often shortened to Kewpies, derives from Cupid. Huh, I did not know that. It makes a lot of sense. The Roman god of erotic love. After the characters gained popularity among both adults and children, O'Neill began illustrating paper dolls of them called Kewpie cutouts. Okay, that's a very interesting fact about them. So after World War I began in Europe, production of the bisque Kewpie dolls moved from Germany to France and Belgium due to rising tension after the assassination of Archduke Franz Ferdinand. Around this time, the dolls also began to be produced in the United States, made of composition material rather than bisque due to bisque fragility. The manufacturers also began to increase the sizes of the doll, producing 22-inch, which is 560 millimeters version in addition to the 12-inch version. The American composition dolls also had the distinctive heart-shaped decal on the chest reading Kewpies, and copyright by Rosie O'Neill. Like the original bisque model, some of the composition Kewpies were also hand-signed by O'Neill, and they included jointed arms. So in the late models from 1944 to the present time, as photographs become more commonplace in advertisings, the prominence of Kewpies in the marketing circuit began to wane. O'Neill returned to Missouri, where she died purportedly impoverished of complications from a series of stroke in 1944. Despite the lessening in popularity, Kewpies continued to be manufactured to the majority of the century, including hard plastic version as well as all bisque replicas of the original Kewpies, produced by Jesco and Cameo Co. in the 1960s until the 1990s. This reproduction Kewpies lacked the heart-shaped decal that distinguished the original older version. So, because of that one, and since I started collecting postcards, so I start researching about Kewpies more and more, and I said, okay, I would like to get a hold, even of one piece of the postcard. It is just because, I got introduced to them a few years back, but by then I was not aware of who they were. And I got my postcard today, and I believe this is what I am going to feature, these two postcards that I have on my podcast, which is going to come pretty soon. So, this is my podcast for today, and as usual, this is Rocket saying, have a wonderful day. Bye!